everyone. So today we are talking about all ceramic restoration. The reference for this topic is from chapter number 11 and 25 from Rosensteel. In this topic we are going to cover different type of preparations for all ceramic, like your full veneer crown, like your inlays, onlays, and the most important is your laminates. Content for this lecture will be your all ceramic restorations, your inlays, onlays, your laminate preparations, and number 4 will be material science. There is a classification for your all ceramic materials. So we will just have a brief regarding the classification of your all ceramic material, because that classification itself is a very vast topic that has to be studied separately, and you have already studied that separately during your dental material sessions. Ceramic restoration. All ceramic restorations are most aesthetically pleasing restorations in terms of color, translucency, and biocompatibility. That means they are more tissue friendly. The color reproduction is excellent. So whatever color reproduction you want to achieve, that can be done with your all ceramic restoration. But because of the brittleness, now you know that ceramic, they are very brittle. So because of this brittleness, they are more susceptible to fracture. That is the reason all ceramic restorations are more fragile when you compare with porcelain fused to metal or metal restoration. In PFM restoration or porcelain fused to metal restoration, there is a backing of metal substructure which is going to give extra strength to the ceramic. But this is not the case with your all ceramic restoration. The whole prosthesis or whole restoration is made up of ceramic itself, and you know ceramic is a brittle material, so it might fracture. It is having more brittleness as compared to PFM and all metal. Ceramic can be used for your full veneer crowns. It can be used for your bridges also, because there is lot of innovation going on in the field of ceramics in dentistry. So now you can fabricate bridges also. But before 20 years or 25 years, ceramic was only and only indicated for single crown, that to anterior tooth, that to endo treated tooth. The reason was that on the posteriors, the occlusal forces are more, and the ceramic being a brittle material, it would not resist all the occlusal forces, and the chances of crown fracture were more. That is the reason it was not advised in the posteriors. It was not advised for the bridges also. But this is not the case today, because we have lot of innovations which has increased the strength, in which has decreased the brittleness of the ceramic, and nowadays ceramic restoration can be given for your anteriors, posteriors, crown, bridges, everything. But there are certain limitations for that. You have to keep this in mind. Advantages with this all ceramic restoration: number one, it is having superior aesthetic. As I said before, with the help of ceramic, whatever color you want to mimic or whatever color you want to duplicate, if you want to have a staining, you can do staining. If you want to show a crack, enamel crack, you can show enamel crack. All that kind of characterization you can do with your all ceramic restoration. So they are more aesthetics as compared to all other restorations, PFM, metal, everything. They have excellent translucency. They have a very good tissue response, because ceramic is a biocompatible material. So they have very tissue friendly. Appearance of restoration influenced by color of the luting agent. Now you have to understand, as it is more translucent, that means whatever is inside will be reflected outside, same like your glass, right? So when you want to cement this restoration, you have to select the luting cement very wisely, because whatever shade of your luting cement will be there inside, that shade might be replicate outside. So there could be some kind of discoloration if your selection of luting cement is wrong, right? Disadvantages also: absence of metal structure reduces the strength of the restoration, and you know that because of the brittleness, chances of fracture of the restoration, chipping of the ceramic increases. Significant tooth reduction is required because we need to have a particular amount of thickness to gain the strength, so that the crown or the restoration will withstand the occlusal forces. So you need to do more reduction as compared to your PFM and your metal preparations, where observed on the functional surface of the natural tooth. Now, here the occlusion plays a vital role when you are restoring any crown or any prosthesis with your all ceramic restoration. If you have a opposing natural dentition, you have to mandatorily reduce all the occlusal interferences. If there are any interference, this ceramic, being a strongest material, will going to wear your enamel surface, which we don't want. Once your enamel is gone, you cannot recreate the enamel. So you have to be careful. Not only with this, when you want to restore with your all ceramic restoration, if you have a opposing natural dentition, you are supposed to have a recall visits. Recall visit, everybody knows. Once you do the cementation, you have to recall your visit, recall your patient. That recall visit might be after 1 month, 6 month, or yearly. It depends on the condition, so that you can check whether there is occlusal wear or not, because sometimes the patients might develop parafunctional habit in future. Maybe he doesn't have any kind of habit, parafunctional habit, during the treatment, during the cementation, but maybe after 6 months, because of mental stress, if he develops any kind of parafunctional habits, you have to identify, otherwise it is going to destroy your opposing natural dentition. So that is a drawback. We are not effective as retainer for fixed prosthesis. As I said, it is a brittle material, so there should be some kind of flexibility with the material. And as a brittle, it doesn't have that kind of flexibility, it will directly fracture. So preferably in old days, this was not advisable to give all ceramic restoration as a retainer. So these are all disadvantages with your all ceramic. I want you to focus on one thing. Right. Now, can you see here? See the finish line. It is having slope, and see this finish line, which is a shoulder. So if you don't have a shoulder, the occlusal forces or the forces acted on the restoration might develop crack with your restoration, and your restoration will fail. That is the reason you are supposed to have two type of finish line. Either it could be your shoulder, or either it could be your heavy chamfer. Other than this two finish line, if you have other type of finish line, your restoration is going to fail. The prognosis, in which cases all ceramic restorations are indicated. They are indicated with your discolored tooth, they tooth with enamel defect. If you have any kind of enamel defect, you can do the all ceramic restoration. Where there is a tooth fracture, you can give all ceramic restoration. Bilateral proximal decay with incisal edge involvement, like your class 4, you can give all ceramic restoration. And unilateral proximal decays with anterior as well as posteriors, you can give your all ceramic restoration. So these are all your indications. What are they? With posterior teeth. Now, as I said, earlier days ceramic was having more brittle property. It was more brittle. So posteriorly we used to avoid all ceramic restorations. But because of these innovations, because of new developments in the field of ceramic, nowadays we also prescribe ceramic restoration for your posterior teeth. Patients who are young, because we have to do more crown preparation, and in young patients the size of the pulp chamber is bigger. So when you do more reduction of the tooth structure, you are going more near to the pulp, which might leads to pulpitis. It could be your reversible pulpitis, it could be your irreversible pulpitis, or patient may have sensitivity in future. So these kind of problems might arise with all ceramic restorations for young patients. That is why when you select any kind of case for that particular restoration, you have to select very wisely. Deep or heavy bites. If you have a deep bite or heavy occlusal contacts, try not to give all ceramic restoration because it is going to fracture in future. Parafunctional habit like your nail biting, right, bruxism, all these are considered as parafunctional habit. If you see parafunctional habit with the patient, do not prescribe PFM restoration. Now, along with these four contraindications, we have added some more contraindications. If occlusal load is unfavorable, if you come to know that now occlusal scheme, we have studied occlusal scheme. In dental occlusion, you might have studied occlusal scheme. We have balance occlusion, we have unilateral balance occlusion, we have group function occlusion. So if you see you have unfavorable occlusal contact, these type of prostheses are not indicated. If you have a long span breach where the chances of flexibility with the restoration is more, so in that case also try to avoid giving all ceramic restoration, because in future the prognosis, the durability of that prosthesis will be reduced because of that brittleness. So try to avoid that restoration with long span bridges. When other more conservative restorations are available, you go with that restoration. Don't directly jump. Now for example, in our clinics, they have stopped doing all ceramic restoration, right? Everybody was trying to achieve more aesthetic, everybody was behind aesthetic, but they forgot regarding the other principles of tooth preparation what we have studied, right? Now what happened, these all ceramic restorations are expensive, these require more tooth reduction, and everybody did that. But here the economy plays a vital role. The cost of all ceramic material is double the cost of your PFM restorations or your metal restorations. So the lab bills are expensive, and you know that we are paying lab bills from our college, right? So patient doesn't have to pay. So that was a huge uh, money for our college to pay. So that is the reason we stop now all ceramic restorations, right? Because we have selected the cases, all the cases were selected for all ceramic. That was the reason, right? So whenever you have other conservative approach, go with that. Now coming to the classification system, basically there is an article which was published in 2015. They have given a very nice classification regarding all ceramic materials. Now what they did, they have classified these materials into different categories. Broadly they have classified this material into three classes: glass matrix ceramics, polycrystalline ceramic, and the third category was resin matrix ceramic. Now all these three categories into other subtitles. Like your glass matrix ceramics, they have categorized as feldspathic porcelain, synthetic porcelain, and glass infiltrated porcelain. Whereas polycrystalline ceramic is classified as alumina, stabilized zirconia, zirconia toughened with alumina, and aluminium toughened zirconia. So these are different subcategories that can be used as a material to fabricate your all ceramic restoration. Now when you study individually all these categories, you will come to know that there are advantages, disadvantages for each and every category. that has to be studied separately. We are not concentrating that detail in this lecture. So this is a broad classification regarding your all ceramic material. Preparation. What are the armamentariums that are needed for preparation? Armamentariums are same like your PFM restoration or metal restoration. Only thing is that here tapered flattened burr is the most important candidate which is going to play your major role for your finish line, because all the finish line that you are going to prepare will be shoulder. The alternative for shoulder will be your heavy chamfer, and heavy chamfer you are supposed to prepare with the help of your tapered round end burr, right? So all the principles of tooth preparations are same, just like your metal crown preparation or your PFM crown preparation. Depth or on the thickness of the restoration. So this is common for all, so you know that, so I will not go into the is that about the thickness of the restoration. Now if you see here at the incisal edge, the thickness should be 1.5 to 2 millimeters. The occlusal clearance or the incisal clearance should be around 2 millimeters, right? 1.5 to 2 millimeters. If it is functional cusp, it should be mandatorily 2 millimeters. If it is non-functional cusp, it varies from 1.5 to 2 millimeters. On the labial portion, if you see here, you will come to know that the reduction should be around 1.2 millimeters. And as you go towards the cervical area where you have your finish line shoulder or heavy chamfer, the thickness should be less than 1 millimeter or 1 millimeter. Understood? This is the mandatory thickness or mandatory preparation you should have with your all ceramic preparation. The same thickness is for your posterior as well. This is clear? Right. Now whatever reduction you are doing on the labial side, same type of reduction you are supposed to do with the lingual side. For the PFM, we have seen that labially the different preparation is there, lingually we have different preparation, but your all ceramic restoration will have same type of preparation, just like your labial, lingual, all are same. Okay, thickness is same. In the cervical area, less than 1 millimeter. When you go towards occlusal side, in the middle somewhere, it is around 1.2 millimeter. When you go on the occlusal side, if it is non-functional, 1.5 to 2 millimeter, and on the functional, it is 2 millimeter compulsory. Okay, so this is regarding the thickness. Burrs already we have seen. Putting the depth orientation groove, removing the tooth structure, preparing the finish line. Now finish line could be your supragingival, equigingival or subgingival. That depends on the case. If for example the cervico-incisal height of the crown is less, then you have only two choices remaining. Either go with subgingival or equigingival. If you have more aesthetic demand from the patient, then it is better to go with equigingival or subgingival. If you are giving posterior and there is no more concern regarding your aesthetic, it is better to place the finish line supragingival. So it depends on the condition. So whenever you get a question or in MCQ, whenever you get anything, try to remember that it depends on the situation, and usually they give situation in the question itself, that you have to understand, analyze and then select the option. This is all regarding your preparation. The inlays and onlays. Where are inlays and onlays indicated? Now inlays and onlays preparation is already taught to you in restorative department. So we will not go into the depth, but only few important points that are very important regarding the prosthodontic point of view that we will see here. What are the indications when your patient have low caries indices? In that case, you can give inlays and onlays. Patients desire who have, when they demand for more aesthetic, because instead of inlays and onlays, you can go with your composite restoration, you can go with your amalgam restoration as well. But if your patient is demanding for high aesthetic value restoration, you should go with your inlays and onlays. They are also indicated for class 2 restorations. Class 2 restoration, everybody knows MODs and class 2s, right? So they are indicated for that scenario also. Along with this indication, we have certain contraindications. It is very time consuming procedure. If you do composite restoration or amalgam restoration, single sitting is, I mean, one visit is sufficient to do the restoration. But if your patient is demanding for higher aesthetic value restorations, and if you have plan for inlays or onlays, you have to have two visits. One visit for preparation and impression, second visit for your cementation. So the time consuming consumption is more with this type of restoration. They are very expensive, double triple the cost of your normal composite or your amalgam. Poor hygiene cases are contraindicated for this type of restorations. If patient is having parafunctional habit, as I said in our first 2 3 slides, if you are giving your ceramic restoration and if you have a natural dentition opposing, then there will be wear of the enamel layer. So if your patient is having parafunctional habit, you should not give inlays and onlays which are made up of your ceramic material. These are all contraindications for inlays and onlays. Are extremely aesthetic. You cannot identify if you have done the inlays and onlays properly with proper finish lines, adaptation and all, proper selection of the resin material, luting cement. You cannot identify that this is inlay or onlay. This is the aesthetic value of your inlays and onlays. Marginal leakage associated with polymerization shrinkage, usually this is seen with your composite restoration because of shrinkage, polymerization shrinkage. Everybody knows what is polymerization shrinkage? Yes. Very good. So because of that shrinkage, the chances of marginal leakage are more, but with your inlays there is no absolute shrinkage, so marginal leakage is totally avoided if you have properly cemented the restoration. So these are the advantages. Advantages, we have disadvantages. Occlusal adjustment must be done meticulously. Proper occlusal adjustment should be done before the cementation. It's not like that you have cemented and now you are doing occlusal adjustment. No, it's not like that. First of all, when you are trying the inlays and onlays, you are supposed to adjust the occlusion properly. Remove all the occlusal interferences in the static and dynamic motion of the mandible. Due to wear of the luting composite, chances of marginal leakage increases because we are cementing this inlays and onlays with some luting cement. So when you are doing some when you are I'm sorry. So due to wear of luting composite, chances of marginal leakage may occur. This can be avoided by precisely fitting inlay with less than 100 micrometer accuracy, right? When you pass a probe from the natural tooth surface towards the inlay, there should be no catch. That should be the precision with your inlays and onlays. Then only you will have no marginal leakage. Number three, finishing at the margin during cementation is difficult. It's not like that you have cemented the restoration, you have removed the excess cement and we are done. No, it's not like that. At the margin, wherever there are margins, you have to do the finishing. Now, when you do the composite restoration, at the end of your composite restoration, you are doing the finishing with some finishing burrs. Same like that, here also you have to do the finishing of the margin. Now finishing of the margin on the occlusal side is easy, but if it is in the proximal area, it becomes very tough for us to do the finishing of the finish line, right? So that is a disadvantage with your ceramic inlays and onlays, but that still we can manage all these difficulties. Only thing is you have to work little extra. Now outline form, you have to draw the outline form. This is regarding the preparation. Whatever outline form, if it is a old restorations, you have to select the outline form according to the old restoration. If it is having a caries, you have to select the outline form according to the extension of the caries. Marginal, you use 90-degree butt joint. Do not give bevel, because if you give bevel, the thickness of your ceramic will be less, and with the occlusal forces, that thin ceramic could fracture. So you should have 90-degree butt joint. Finishing should be done properly, because if you don't do proper finishing, it will lead to periodontal problem. So try to avoid that. Inlays and onlays. Now coming to the they are having more conservative approach, because we are simply working on the labial portion, that too only in the enamel. Even we are not going deep into the dentin. Only 0.5 up to 0.5. It could be 0.3 also. It could be 0.4 also. It is up to 0.5 millimeter thick. So it's very thin restorations which are placed on the labial surface only to enhance the aesthetic or increase the aesthetic beauty of the patient. More conservative. No need of anesthesia, because we are working on the enamel itself, right? Though it is written no need of anesthesia, but sometimes for to avoid patient's discomfort, we might infiltrate, right? Or sometimes you have to do the gingival tissue retraction. Now we know what is gingival tissue retraction. Yes. So for that, sometimes we give infiltration, right? But actually, I mean, theoretically, there is no need of giving infiltration on anesthesia for your laminate preparation. Along with this advantage, we have disadvantage also. Endodontically treated tooth are absolutely not good candidate for your laminate preparation. Can anybody tell me why? Why we should not give laminate with endo treated tooth? Because it is here, it is not. No, it is related with aesthetic. I have given clue. Discoloration of the endo treated tooth. Do you know what will happen with your endo treated tooth? In long run, the tooth gets discolored. The endo treated tooth, RC treated tooth, get discolored after 5, 6, 10 years, right? And if you give a laminate, if there is a discoloration within 1 year, this discoloration will be reflected outside, and whatever aesthetic values you have achieved at the time of cementation will not remain same in future. So it is better to avoid laminates for your endo treated tooth. Along with this, endo treated tooth are already brittle, right? Because they are dead. So to avoid any kind of fracture, it is advisable to go with all full veneered crown for your endo treated tooth and not with your laminates. Understood? Clear? Right. Second, patient with loss of cervico-incisal height is contraindicated. Cervico-incisal height, everybody knows? Right. Now, this preparation we are doing on the labial surface, and it is very less. So already we have a compromised cervical surface area, because we have compromised cervico-incisal height. Now, if you have a compromised height, compromised surface area, automatically your retention will reduce, right? So for with cases where you see cervico-incisal height is compromised, don't try to be a hero by giving laminates. Better to go with all ceramic, all full veneer type of restoration, because the durability will be more, aesthetic will be more with full veneer preparation. If you give laminates and you wanted to be a hero, then in future it is going to fracture, or it is going to lose the retention, and patient will come back for with another problem. So to avoid that, select the restoration very wisely. Number 3, patient with parafunctional habit, as I said before, they are not good candidate for your all ceramic restoration. It could be your inlay, onlay, your crowns, or your laminates. So I hope advantages and disadvantages is clear. Now coming to the preparation steps. Now as you can see, this type of burr is used to put the depth orientation grooves. The, the, the diameter of this burr, when you give the depth orientation groove, it cut precisely around 0.3 to 0.5 millimeter at the labial portion, and then whatever tooth structure is there in between, that can be trimmed with the help of tapered round end burr, not flat end burr, round end burr. Long chamfer margins are advised, and it must follow the gingival crest, the finish line. Whenever possible, place the preparation margin labial to the proximal contact area to preserve the enamel. The meaning of this, that we have a proximal contact. In the proximal area, we have a proximal contact. So when you prepare the finish line, try to prepare that finish line before your contact point. Understood? Don't break the contact point unless and until it is necessary. If there is caries and you want to remove the caries, in that case you can break. But if there is no necessity, then do not break the proximal contact. This thing you have to keep in mind, because in pre-clinics when we are working for your laminates, we are not going to break the proximal contact. Clear? If possible, do not reduce the incisal edge. This helps to support the ceramic and makes the chipping less likely. If it is not needed to reduce the incisal area, do not reduce that, because there are different type of preparation where your laminate preparation will extend up to the incisal area, it will come down towards the palatal side, and it will end in the cingulum area. There are some preparations where your preparation will end at the incisal area. Right? So these are different variations that you have to select depending upon the case. So your preference should be, do not reduce the incisal area. Let all the forces concentrate on the incisal edge, natural tooth, not on the laminate. Okay? So this will avoid your future complications, and it will increase the durability of your laminates. All prepared surface must be rounded to prevent any stress concentration. After you have done the preparations, you see rough margins, rough sharp angles. You have to round off all the sharp angles with your finishing burr. Not only that, you have to do the finishing and polishing of your preparation before taking impression. You have to do finishing and polishing of your preparation before doing cementation of your restorations with your laminates. Remember this. That is why you have to apply rubber dam and all. Luting cement. Now these luting cements are common for your inlays, onlays, laminates, and your full veneer crown preparation. Preferably we should use resin luting cement, which are available in different shades, right? As I said, it is more translucent, so whatever is inside will be reflected outside. So if you have selected A1 shade and your resin cement is D3 or B3 dark shade, so that shade will reflect outside and your aesthetic value will be reduced. So to avoid that, select the resin cement with proper shade. Now along with this resin cement, we can also use resin modified GIC luting cement for cementation of crown with posteriors, because in posteriors the aesthetic value demand is not very high, right? So this is clear. Luting cement, do not use GIC for your all ceramic. Don't give that answer. Done for today. Do you have any questions now? If you have any questions, please ask right now. Don't ask questions outside. All clear? No questions? Wow.